Hello, tubers. How are you today? Well, I hope you're having a good day, praying the rosary, getting closer to God, and following His ways. Because, like I say, Yahweh is the best way. Today, I wanted to talk about Abraham. And the part of Abraham that I want to speak about is when God told him that he wanted Abraham to sacrifice his son, the one he loved, which was Isaac. Now, going back in the Bible, Isaac was actually Abraham's second son because he had Ishmael through Hagar, which was his first child. And I did a video about that years ago and talking about how God looked at Isaac and Ishmael, and even though they came from the same father, not the same mother, God looked at those two children differently. But that's another subject. Today I was thinking, well, not today, but today I want to talk about this one thing that came in my mind. And I want to preface it by saying, because this is what I feel, I don't know for sure, but what I feel is that because I've been praying the rosary for such a long time, 6 years, coming on 7, something like that, prayed devoutly, I mentioned it before in other videos, that I've become more divine. And I don't say it braggingly. It's not a bragging type of thing. It's just a statement in which I believe in. And the topic of this particular video is pertaining to that statement. Because I would never have asked these things from myself if I haven't been praying the rosary all this time. And it's just grace that's been bestowed on me. And I'm humble. I'm very humble. Because who am I? The topic that came across my mind about a month ago was God testing Abraham in the fact that, well, of course it was a test, but I think it's more intricate or more involved, and it involves Jesus. And the way I look at it is this: going back to that particular verse or verses in the Bible, when God said to Abraham that he wanted him to sacrifice his son, his only son, the one that he loves, referring to Isaac. I feel that was a test in regards to God sacrificing his only son, the one that he loves, for humanity. So that is the question to ponder. Did God test Abraham because God was questioning, is the human race worthy enough to have God sacrifice his son, Jesus Christ, for humanity? Now, I haven't heard of this in regards to any other Bible teaching or other preacher. That's why I say I've been kind of blessed in regards to these questions. Because of the increasing in my divinity, I start asking these questions. You might disagree with that, and you have all the right to. However, that's what I believe. And anyway, so was that test, the test that God made onto Abraham, telling him that he had to sacrifice his son? Because if you remember, Abraham was just about ready to kill his son, and he told him to stop. And then they sacrificed a ram. So God tested Abraham until the very moment he was going to kill him. And so God, when he did test Abraham, God knew that he was going to stop him before he killed his son, Isaac. He just wanted to know, he was testing Abraham to see how far he would go. Would he actually kill his own son for God's sake. And he would have. So at that point, I think at that point, God said to himself, if Abraham is willing to kill his son, the son he loves, for me, then I'll go ahead and kill my son for the human race. That's incredible. Abraham was the man. He was so instrumental. I mean, Abraham's action might have been the action or the instrument for Jesus to come into this world. That's really kind of mind-blowing. Because Abraham, for the reason that Abraham almost killed his son Isaac, that convinced God to bring Jesus into this world. Wow, that's incredible. Now, do I know it for a fact? No, I don't know it for a fact. But why would God say unto Abraham that you have to kill your son? Well, I mean, God loves Isaac. God created Isaac. And God loved Abraham. Why would God, I mean, God would have to be an evil God for him to say to Abraham, kill your son. Just saying that is terrible stress for Abraham. But Abraham obeyed God. So at that point, I think God at that point he went to another strategy, because at that point, see, the way I feel about it is this: I mean, no one was able to go to heaven. I mean, God had his laws, and nobody was able to attain God's ways, to follow his commandments. So there was nobody going to heaven. The bar was too high. It was like you had to get an A+ to get into the school, and nobody got A+. You might have got an A, but it wasn't. So even Moses and all these other people, prophets and stuff of this nature, they couldn't attain the heaven. So I guess God contemplated a plan B, and I guess that's what Jesus, in a way, was plan B. Because God he had the Jewish law, and nobody was going to heaven. So, God went to plan B. But at first, before he went to plan B, he tested Abraham to see if plan B was actually not viable, but was the human race worthy enough for a plan B? And Abraham passed the test. And then years later, Jesus came and provided us another way to go to heaven. An easier way, even though it's not easy, because even Jesus said that the path to the light is narrow, but it got a lot more wider with Jesus than it did with just God's ways, because there was nobody getting to heaven at that point prior to Jesus. So that's the video of today. Did God test Abraham for the reason to give the human race a plan B? Plan B being Jesus Christ coming into this world. Was that God's test? Did he put that test on to Abraham to see if Abraham was willing to kill his own son for God's sake? Then I guess God said, well, if Abraham's willing to kill his own son for his sake, then I will kill my son for your sake. That's a great God, an awesome God. So I hope you learned something. I hope you liked the video. If you did like the video, please give it a like. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And always, as always, God bless.